Hello and welcome. Kadon Enterprises is proud to present this video on how to play the strategy game More or Less. This product, as well as many other games and puzzles, can be found at www.gamepuzzles.com. More or Less is a two-player strategy game where pieces change ownership when jumped. The location of the green felt on one side of each piece determines the current owner of that piece. The goal of the game is to own more than 18 or less than 7 pieces when your turn ends. If the goal is not reached after each player has taken 12 turns, the player with the least number of pieces is declared the winner. The odd number of pieces in the set prevents a tie game. The rulebook describes two strategy games with diagrams and strategy tips. It also includes instructions for two solitaire jumping puzzles. This video will demonstrate how to play the primary game more or less. To distinguish between the rules, strategy tips, and demonstration commentary, the rules will be displayed in yellow and the strategy tips will be displayed in blue. The wooden board is laser etched with a 10-sided geometric design. The play area consists of an outer ring, 2 decagrams or 10-sided stars spiraling inside the ring, and 10 straight lines linking the center of the board to the 10 corners. All play occurs on these lines and intersections. 2 transparent colored squares are used to track the number of turns taken. There are 25 single-colored playing pieces with green felt on one side of each piece. Preparing to play more or less. The players decide who will own the felt-up pieces during the game. After removing one of the 25 pieces, each player takes 12 pieces and orients them based on their ownership. Any method can be used to determine which player will own the extra playing piece. The player not receiving the extra piece will move first. The extra piece is placed in the center of the board with the felt oriented to match the other pieces owned by that player. The turn markers are then placed on the turn counter track closest to each player over the letter M. To prevent an unending game, the game ends if both turn markers reach the final S on their respective tracks. In this demonstration, the red player will own the felt down pieces and the blue player will own the felt up pieces. For this video, a miniature piece will be shown next to each turn counter track as an ownership indicator. The placement phase. The player who did not receive the extra piece will move first. Players take turns placing 2 pieces at a time on any intersection in the play area. Pieces may not be moved during the placement phase. Some things to consider when placing pieces. A move always involves jumping another piece. When a piece is jumped, it flips over. This changes the owner of the piece. Edge pieces can jump inward, but they themselves cannot be jumped. I will use the game shown here to explain the rules and strategies of more or less. The placement of the pieces and the moves demonstrated were optimized for this video and do not necessarily represent an effective way to play. How scoring works in more or less. Unlike other games where each player's score is independent, in more or less the scores are linked together. Understanding how the scoring process works is key to developing strategies for winning the game. To help you visualize the scoring process, I will use a seesaw analogy. The numbers on the seesaw are colored to match the player's turn marker. Because there are 25 pieces, the seesaw can never be in perfect balance. When pieces are jumped, they change ownership. If the blue player with the felt-up pieces jumps a red player's piece, the jump piece flips and becomes a blue piece, and the score is updated. If the red player jumps one of their own pieces, the jump piece flips and becomes a blue piece, changing the score. Notice that as the score changes for one player, it also changes for the other player. I will place the seesaw in the corner so you will be able to see how each jump impacts the score. Moving pieces. It is the blue player's turn. To help keep track of the current player, an arrow will display pointing to the current player's miniature piece. As you have seen, pieces move by jumping over other pieces. There are two types of jumps, the pure jump and the slide-in jump. I will cover the slide-in jump later in this demonstration. The pure jump move. The moving piece may jump over another piece if the piece to be jumped is on an adjacent intersection, the intersection where the moving piece will land is not occupied, and the jump follows a straight line. Changing directions mid-jump is not allowed. As pieces are jumped, they are turned over immediately. Do not wait until the end of the move to turn over jumped pieces. When the move is complete, the player's turn marker is advanced and the score is checked. It is now the red player's turn. The red player wants to jump along the outer ring, but cannot. The pathways along the outer ring are not straight lines, so pieces on the outer ring cannot be jumped. Keep this restriction in mind during the placement phase. The red player decides to make this move instead. While the move sets up a jump for a different piece, the second jump cannot be made this turn. You may only move one piece per turn. The turn is complete, so the turn marker is advanced and the score is checked. Jumping multiple pieces. It is the blue player's turn. A player may jump multiple pieces per turn and may change directions between each jump. To ensure you don't forget which pieces were jumped, turn the jump pieces over as soon as you jump them. If a piece is jumped multiple times, it will turn over once every time it is jumped. Players are only required to make one jump per turn. All other jumps are optional. The turn has ended, so the turn marker is advanced and the score is checked. The do nothing move. The red player begins their turn by reviewing the board. Red spots two moves that will let the blue player win the game. The red player wants to block these moves without changing the score. To do nothing, a player must jump over an equal number of both players' pieces. Jumping over one or more pieces, then reversing the jump, is not considered a valid move. The move is only valid if at least one piece has changed ownership when the turn ends. The move is complete, so the turn marker is advanced and the score is checked. The slide and jump move. The blue player sees that the red player can win on their next turn. The blue player will use the slide and jump move to block the red player's path. There are two steps in a slide and jump move. The first step is the slide. The piece slides along any straight line from its starting point to any empty intersection on that line. If there is another piece on the path, it will block the slide. The moving piece may not change direction during the slide. The slide has positioned the piece for the jump portion of the move. For the jump portion of the move, the player makes a single jump in any valid direction. This jump uses the same rules as a pure jump. The jump follows a straight line, and the piece may not change direction during the jump. Once the jump is complete, the turn has ended. No further jumps or slides are allowed. The player's turn is ended, so the turn marker is advanced and the score is checked. All of the rules have been demonstrated, so let's recap them. Preparing to play. The players decide who will own the felt-up pieces and who will own the felt-down pieces. Each player takes 12 pieces and orients them according to this choice. The remaining pieces are randomly assigned to a player and placed in the center of the board. The player not receiving the extra piece will move first. Players take turns placing two pieces on any two empty intersections on the board. Pieces may not be moved until all pieces are placed on the board. Each player places their turn marker on the letter M of their turn counter track. Playing more or less. Each turn a player moves one piece. When a piece is jumped, it is flipped over, changing the owner of that piece. There are two types of moves in more or less: the pure jump move and the slide and jump move. The pure jump move is the primary method of moving a piece. The moving piece jumps a single adjacent piece following a straight line. The moving piece may not change direction mid-jump. Once the moving piece lands, it may then change direction and continue jumping. Players must complete at least one jump every turn. All other jumps are optional. A jump is considered valid if at least one piece has changed ownership when the turn is complete. When a piece is jumped, it is flipped over immediately. Do not wait until the end of the turn to flip pieces that were jumped. The other type of move is the slide and jump move. The slide and jump move is a strategic move that lets a player jump a non-adjacent piece. The player selects a piece and slides it along any straight line radiating from the piece's starting point. If another piece is on the slide path, that piece blocks further movement. The selected piece may not change direction during the slide. When the slide is complete, the selected piece jumps an adjacent piece following the rules of a pure jump. Only one jump is allowed when using the slide and jump move. The game ends when one player owns more than 18 or less than 7 pieces at the end of their turn, or both turn markers have reached the last S in their respective turn counting tracks. In this case, the player owning the least number of pieces is declared the winner. Thank you for watching this demonstration of the game More or Less. For more information and to purchase this and other games and puzzles, please visit www.gamepuzzles.com.